In Megillas Esther, b'Mishneh Sheni Shel Sudas Esther, that was Mazman Achashverosh v'Haman. So Esther raised her voice and she said, "This is gewaldig, this thing what I'm going to tell you. It opens up a new light on the whole Megillas Esther. And I have to bring it down from my grandfather, Oiv Yisrael, that he brings it down from Reb Shreira Gaon, that to give the explanation that Esther Amalka says for Achashverosh, Ki nimkanu ani v'ami, להשמד להרג לעבד, ואילו לעבוד עם לשפורס נמכרנו החרשנו. We were sold to be killed, but it would be sold to be slaves and shipchas and slaves, men and women. I would have kept quiet. So the question is, how did Esther Amalka use the word kinimkanu? It should be written kinigzarnu. It was a gzera. So he brings down a tremendous story in the times of Rabbi Shreira Gaon. There was a very wealthy man that had the Sefer Torah that Ezra Sofer wrote Ba'atzvoi. And he was a very wealthy man, but after time he passed away, and he had two sons. And they started to fight. One son says, "I want the Sefer Torah, you take the money." And the other son said, "You take the money, and I want the Sefer Torah." So he went to Reb Shreira Gaon, and he said to Vaf HaGoyrel, and where the goyel will fall, that's the one who will have the Sefer Torah, and then the other one will have the money. And that's how it happened. And the Sefer Torah was lying in the main synagogue where they lived over there. And a mummer, who was a mummer lahachas, could not see a person to throw away all the money just to have a Sefer Torah for Nezer HaSofer. So he wanted to take revenge, and he couldn't sleep. And he hid himself in the synagogue till the Shamash closed up the synagogue. And he went over to the On Kodesh, and he took out the Sefer Torah, and he turned the Sefer Torah in Parshas Mishpotim, which is written, "Va'avaretem es Hashem Elokeichem," that Varatem, you should serve the Rabbeinu Shalom. Va'avaretem es Hashem Elokeichem uberech es lachmucho. That's how it's written. It's written, uberech es lachmucho ve'es meimecho. Va'avaretem es Hashem Elokeichem uberech es lachmucho ve'es meimecho ve'asiroisi maklo mikiobecho. He went and he crossed out the ayin for Avaretem, that you should serve the Rabbeinu Shalom, and he erased it and he put a Achmon al-Islam, an Aleph. And an Aleph is already lost the identification that is the Sefer Torah for Ezra HaSofer. He closed it up and put it back in the On Kodesh. They came up to the Madrid, they came up to Parshas Mishpotim, and they read Parshas Mishpotim, and the Malkoyer sees Va'avaretem and an Aleph. Not only did it lose the importance and the identification that was from Ezra HaSofer, it was a tragedy. And this man who had inherited the Sefer Torah through a goyel cried the whole day till he fell asleep. And the Rabbeinu Shloim sent his father in dream, and he told him, you should know that this is the Sefer Torah of an Ezra Sofer. And if you'll go next to the Belema, where the Sefer Torah lies, when you read it, you'll find the eye of the Sefer, of the Shmuel. And the Rabbeinu Shalom took out the eye, ayin tachas ayin, and that will reinstate that this is the Sefer Torah Shel Ezra Sofer, and no one should fix it, because Ezra Sofer came out of Psak and Bezdin Shel Malo, that Ezra Sofer has to come down and fix it himself. And with that, the whole Echsheros, the whole identification of Ezra Sofer became reinstated, and the son was happy. So Reb Shreira Gaon says, this can you understand what happened, that when Haman HaRosha gave Asoros Halovim Kikar Kesef, they wrote in Hebrew, and he wrote the language of Hebrew was very common, and especially that he was a slave. Haman was a slave of Mordechai. And not only this, that in the United States of America, when the Constitution was created and the 13 states come together, and they made the United States of America in 1789, there was a very big question which language should prevail in America, either Hebrew or English, because they hated England for the Boston Tea Party. And they took a vote, and they were idealists, they believed in the Bible, and they took a vote, and Hebrew lost one vote. Well, otherwise there would have been Hebrew prevailing today in the United States. So in those times, Hebrew was a very kosher language, and Haman and Achashverosh made a paper, and he gave him this Asoros Halofim Kikar Kesef, and Haman says, Yikosev le'avdom, I want to buy him to make them slaves. He took that, and Achashverosh went and gave the seal over that paper, and Haman took out the eye and erased it and put it in Aleph la'avdom, and they translated to lahashbin la'agle'abed, that they should eliminate Klal Yisrael from all the 127 countries. So Achashverosh said to Esther, Miu zeh ve'ezuhu asher maloi lasses kein, that he changed from an ayin to an, because I signed only for to become slaves, but not to be killed. So Esther showed that it was Haman that made this, erased the la'avdom with an ayin and made it an aleph, and he was the one that created this whole disturbance in Klal Yisrael, because he counterfeited the whole manuscript. What Achashverosh signed was only la'avdom for slaves, and therefore, in Esther Amalka was Megala, and everything came to its total peace and tranquility. And this is the story as Reb Shreira Gaon, it touches off. Therefore, it's written, Ki nimkanu ani v'ami. I was sold on paper because I was sold only on slaves, and he made it that I was sold to be killed. Lahashvin la'aglaved v'il lishvos ulavodem nimkanu harashti ke'ein atzor shova b'nezek hamelach. And this is what the whole conspiracy and the whole fraud that Haman wanted to create, and he had it almost made by creating this counterfeit piece of paper, from changing it from an ayin la'avdon la'abed, and Klal Yisrael was left as Godel Asos Hatabas Yosef Memchas Levim, and therefore they were saved to live and to receive Kimu V'Kiblu, Kimu Mashekiblu Kvar, V'Kimu Lemalo, Mashekiblu Lemato.